everybody. Today we're going to learn how to create an offer in Zipforms, and we are going to start in MLS. I have the listing pulled up. I'm going to click on supplements so it pulls up all the supplements from MLS. And here we should have everything listed. I'm going to download everything individually. So lead-based paint, offer requirement information, seller's disclosure, and I'll go ahead and download the survey. I'm also going to scroll to the bottom because here you could have exclusions, and I want to read everything that's in private remarks in case there's any notes there for what I need to be putting in the offer. I'm also going to go down and look for the preferred title company because if I want to win an offer, I want to make sure I use the listing agent's title company. Now we're ready to log into Zipforms. It should save your information, otherwise you can enter your login information. I'm going to click New Purchase Offer, and anytime I can, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to copy paste. I want to enter in all the address information from the listing so that I can use MLS Connect, which will pull in all of the listing data that's entered on MLS. So I'll go ahead and copy the MLS number here. Click MLS Connect, enter that MLS number. I want to include the property photo and hit find and use listing. I'm also going to use Zipform Record Connect, residential, active, and I'm going to choose global contract as my template. If you wait a bit, it'll pull up everything from Zipform Record Connect. Now, I'm not sure if his first name is Kenneth or Ray. So if you ever don't know, pull up the seller's disclosure, scroll down until you find his name written out. So his name is Kenneth R. Melton. So I'm going to go back to Zipforms and I want Kenneth Ray Melton. There we go. And I noticed on the seller's disclosure there's a wife there. So I'm mentally making a note of that to put it in later. So now we go to parties. And here's where I'm going to enter in the wife, Edna P. Melton. She's not my client, so I don't need to save it to my address book. Okay, and we always do that, so always make note of that on the seller's disclosure because so that you don't have to go back and add it later and waste time. So now I need to get my buyer's information put in here, so I want to make sure that I have their full legal names and their correct email address. You can put both of them on one email address. It'll just have to go to one person first, and then afterwards send it to the second person. Okay, so click on buyer one. I'm going to enter their first name, last name, and their correct email address. If this is the first time I'm entering them, I'm going to save them to my address book. And save. And I'll do that again with buyer two. I want to save them to my address book so that if I end up writing other offers, I can just pull all of these from address book. I don't have to retype it every single time. Perfect. The listing agent should be in there already because we're pulling it from MLS. Your information will normally pull here. I'm just using the office account, so I need to go in and put in my information, but yours should normally pull up here without you having to enter it. But do make sure all of this information is pre-filled as much as possible because it'll save you a lot of time in your paperwork. Okay, done with parties. So now we're going to go to documents. And here, because I used the template, it went ahead and pulled in all of most of the paperwork that you would ever need to use when writing an offer. The first thing I'm going to do is go to writing an offer audit checklist. This is so helpful. I would suggest you print it out. I'll do another video on everything that this includes, but you can see at the, I'm going to download it here. Seller names, buyer names, exclusions, sales price, check for any leased equipment on the seller's disclosure, who pays title policy. There's all kinds of great stuff that it's just giving you a reminder to look at. So I highly suggest that you use it. I still use it, and I've been writing offers for a long time. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to add all of the supplements that we downloaded earlier. So I went to add document. Now I'm going to click on browse for document. And it's not showing you here, but it is pulling up my file finder. And there you can see it did pull it up from where I downloaded it, and it's just going to pull it into this file. Okay, now we actually get to the writing the offer part. So the first thing I'm going to do is click on the 1 to 4, open in new form editor. And you'll see we have a lot of information that has already pre-filled for us because we did the MLS Connect and the Zipforms Record Connect. So here's where it pulls in all the information for you, which is extremely helpful. Exclusions is one of the things that is listed on the listing information, and this one does not have that. So now we're going to enter in our down payment and financing amount. So just to make it easy, I'm going to say that they're putting down a down payment of $10,000 and then they're financing $100,000. Residential leases, fixture leases, natural resource leases will all be listed on the seller's disclosure. And here's where I'm going to be putting in their preferred title company. It's going to ask me for the address. So many people get stuck here because they don't know the city and the zip code. I literally just go Google it. So it's Independence Title at 465. There it is. So it's in Richardson, 75080. Because the MLS only gives you a limited amount of space. See, this one doesn't even let me put the suite number. So I'll put the suite number here instead of highway. Okay, the first box is asking for the earnest money. Earnest money is usually 1% of the total purchase or offer price. So for this, I'm going to put 1,100. And then the option fee, it depends on how strong you want your offer to be. It could be anywhere from $100 to $500 to $1,000. For this one, I'm just going to put $100. This buyer shall deliver additional earnest money. This is for if you're doing a backup offer. So if you're ever doing a backup offer, give one of us a call, either me, Sarah, Jody, or Kenny, and we can help you with that for your first time. And this is how many days that you want for your option period. So again, this is totally up to you and your buyers and how strong you want your offer to be. So I've seen this be 3 days. Well, I've seen it be 0 days. I would never recommend you do that. But I've seen it be 3 days. I've seen it be 7, 10. So for this, I'm going to put 7. Who is paying the title policy? This is usually a seller's expense, but it kind of depends on how strong you want your offer to be. And if you are not sure what you want to do because there's like they have 20 offers and you're really trying to stand out, I would suggest you call Kenny and ask his advice before you say buyers. Otherwise, for this, we're just going to put sellers. And it was Independence Title. Okay, What this is down here is if they have a current survey and you don't see anything glaring at you to where you think there's something wrong with it. So here's the survey. So this one's pretty old and I've never even heard of this surveying company before. So maybe this is one I don't want to amend to, it just is saying that you're not going to be ordering a new survey. So whatever survey they're providing, you're basically going to take it at that. If you say will be amended to read shortages in the area, this is usually going to prompt the title company to ask for a new survey because they're going to have a lot of restrictions for that survey to be valid. It's going to have to be within a certain amount of time. They're going to have to see the entire piece of paper. There's just going to be a lot that goes into it. The seal's going to have to be good. The title company, the survey company is still going to have to be in business. There's just a lot that goes along with it. So if you're just going to accept the survey as is, I would suggest you use this top one. And if you're not, then give Jody or Kenny a call and discuss this with them before you talk to your buyer about it, because this will result in a fee as well. Survey. Okay, within usually 3 days is the norm. And what this first option says is it's saying within 3 days, the seller will furnish to the buyer an existing survey. Now, because we know that they already have a survey on MLS, then we're just going to say that if there's something wrong with the survey, that the seller or the buyer will purchase a new one. Now, who would find something wrong with it is the title company or the lender. Because we chose this first option, the title company is probably not going to have a problem with the current survey. So we always put buyers just to make your offers look a little stronger. Now, if there was not a survey listed on MLS, then I would say at the seller's expense, because if they do not have an existing survey, then this option would mean that the seller would need to purchase a new survey and provide it to the buyer. If they made a note on there that the seller does not have an existing survey, then this is when you use these two options. So this is like, who is going to be providing a new survey? This says the buyer will, this says the seller will, and again, that's at you and your buyer's discretion on which option you choose there. Objections is resident. We always write residential in there, and we always give it 7 days. Is this property in a homeowners association? So you can go to MLS here and you can look up HOA company, and here it says none. Okay, required notices. It's important here for you to note if there is a mud, a water, or a PID notice that is required here, because it will need to be noted. This should be on the seller's disclosure. It should also be in the offer requirement information, and it also should be listed as a supplement in MLS, but it isn't always, so it's a good thing for you to check. Here is the seller's disclosure notice. We have received the buyer has received the seller's disclosure, so we're going to mark that option there. This is the buyer accepts the property as is. This can get confusing to your buyers and they always get a little wary of it. This does not mean that we're not going to have an inspection and ask for repairs. What this means is that the buyer accepts the property as it is, as they viewed it today. So if they go today and there's not a broken window and then the house closes and there is a broken window, the seller has to fix the broken window because we are purchasing as it looks today. Residential service contract are home warranties. So we default to $695 here. That kind of gives them like the premium package with no pool. So if they do have a pool, just ask us or look at the home warranty brochure and the buyer can choose whichever home warranty they want. So just put more in there for the pool. If the seller or the buyer were related to either party, they would need to disclose that here. Close date. This is a question that I get a lot, is what day is the best day to close? And in my opinion, it is Thursday. Okay, when is the buyer going to take possession? Is it going to be right at closing or are they going to be giving a lease back? In this situation, I'm going to pretend that we're giving the seller a 2-week lease back. Okay, this is any seller paid closing cost, which is usually 0. So you can just leave it blank. If you're using our transaction coordinator, then you want to leave that there. And here's where we're going to check off any of the addendums that we're using to go along with this. Third party is always checked by default. So now I'm just looking for seller's temporary residential lease. And that's it. And here, if you, for some reason, some of them pre-fill and some of them don't. So I'm going to go click on associate name, click the down arrow. If it's above a dotted line, it's information that it's pulling from either information that I've entered or information from MLS. And then see, that's not my correct cell phone number, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. Okay, so pretend this isn't ours. If they're the same, if this was a intermediary, then I would just be entering my information down here. But we're going to pretend that this is a different company. So it didn't pull the broker license number. So I'm going to go back to Matrix. It's down here. And I'm looking for the broker license number, which is right here. Didn't copy it. Copy. It automatically pulled in the listing agent information, their email address, their phone number, but not their supervisor. So I'm going to go back and copy paste that. Again, we're pretending this is a totally different company. Okay. So if this were really an intermediary, I would uncheck this. I wouldn't type anything on this side. I would have seller and buyer as intermediary, and I would enter all my information down here. This is how much commission they are offering to pay. So here they're offering 3%. If you were to write in 3% here and MLS said 2.5, MLS wins. So I always think it's a good idea that when you're actually writing the offer to go ahead and print this page so you have it for your records so that when you wrote the offer, they were offering 3%. I'm sure they don't ever go back and change it, but just in case. This you don't fill. Now what I love about Zipforms is that I can add all of my documents from here on the side. So remember that we do need the third-party financing addendum. I haven't written an offer for them before, so I do need the information about brokerage services. And we are offering a seller's temporary residential lease, so I'm going to go ahead and add that. I don't have the non-realty items, and again, I don't have any of those other things. And then once we go down here, it also included our supplements that we uploaded, so I am going to need the lead-based paint. And I am going to need the seller's disclosure. So now we're just going to keep filling out the information that we need to fill out. The third party is always going to default to conventional because it's the most common, but you can change it if they are FHA or VA. Now I do remember, because I made it a really easy number, that we are financing for $100,000, but if you didn't remember, you can always scroll back up and look and see. This 7.25, this number needs to be above what they have listed on their pre-approval letter. I'm saying that this buyer is asking for 21 days to receive financing. If it were an FHA or VA financing, I would need to enter the offer price, the total offer price here in this box. Again, information about brokerage services, I'm just making sure that all of this information is correct. It should pull in automatically, but if any of my information is wrong, then I need to go in and change it. And here's the residential lease, has my buyers, the sellers, the address. So I'm going to say we're closing on the 3rd and we're going to give them 2 weeks. I'm going to ask them to pay me $50 a day, but you can also leave this as 0. And I'm going to ask for a $500 deposit. The seller will still be responsible for all of their utilities and they can keep any pets current in the house. This one I think is important for you to leave, that the home shall be clean and all personal property removed upon move out, because you probably are not going to do a final walkthrough and it's just a good thing to have in there to protect your client. Holdover, so if they stay longer than they should, they have to pay the buyers $250 a day for staying over. Okay, now I think we're ready for signing. We filled out all of the paperwork that we actually fill in. The only thing that's left now are the things that we have to edit as PDFs. So I'm going to go to party. Oh, now I'm going to click prepare signing. I'm going to send it to AuthentiSign. Okay, I'm going to change the name here. And I'm going to change it to the address, 1912 West Rochelle. Offer. You don't need to select a return folder. Okay, so first thing we want to do is add participants, add from transaction. So we're going to add our buyers, buyer 1, buyer 2, and myself. Now the reason I have to add myself this time is because I know that I have to sign the lead-based paint. Also, if you have the other company, if they have a disclosure of relationship, you'll have to sign that as well. Otherwise, you probably will never add yourself. You don't really sign anything. I click select. Okay, so it will go ahead and pre-populate on the fillable ones. It pre-populates where the signature blocks go. I just scroll down and check to make sure they're all right. Looks good. Okay, now we get to where we need to add signature blocks. So the first thing you want to do on the lead-based paint is you want to mark these 2 boxes. I'm going to assign this to myself, and I'm going to use markup. If you use these up here, this is the signer action. See, so I would have to do something over here, which I don't want to do. I just want to mark it. So I'm going to head put I'll put an X there, resize it, can copy it and paste it there. Okay, so within, I'm going to say the buyer, oh, this is the wrong spot. Buyer waives the opportunity to conduct a risk assessment and that they've received the pamphlet for Protect Your Home, Your Family from Lead in Your Home. Okay, now I need to click on, if you just click on the form anywhere, it'll pull up these signature options. So I'll go ahead and put in my signature block here. Then I'll change it to the buyer 1 and then buyer 2. And unfortunately here, you're going to have to enter all of these in. So initials, I go ahead and do one at a time because it makes it faster. And if you wanted to add the printed name, you can just do that here. It'll enter it there. Again, full name if you want to. I missed this guy's initial box down here. So I need to go back up and put fire 2 through all of these. That's it. And we're done. So now I hit next and send, and it will send all of your paperwork off for signature. Great job. Okay, so after the offer has been signed, you'll get an email letting you know, and you can log back into Zipforms, and if you click on the folder, it says that everything has been signed. So the order that we want to go in is pre-approval letter, the 1 to 4, third party. I'm going to do lead-based paint and all the addendums afterwards. Doesn't matter what order they go in necessarily. I'm going to click Save as PDF. Here, if I wanted to, I could change the order. And then I'm going to click Save to my device. Save. And then you click the button that says Click to Download and close. Now all of those are downloaded. I'm also going to download the seller's disclosure as a separate attachment because I don't want it in the offer paperwork. And then information about brokerage services is just for my information. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the compliance folder. And if I want to, I can even put it in its little IABS spot. So that's done. Okay, so just to note that I do want the offer with a pre-approval letter separated from the seller's disclosure because I want the seller to just be able to sign the offer and send it back to me and not have to send the seller's disclosure to the lender. Okay, so now I could go here to look for the listing agent email, but I am going to go to the offer instructions to see if they want me to send it to 2 people because sometimes they want you to send it to the assistant, in which case this one does. It's ours, of course. So I would just type in the listing agent email and then whoever else they want me to send it to. And in the name or subject, I'm going to put it the name property address. And I'm going to write offer in all caps so it's easy for the listing agent to see. Now, because we're an awesome brokerage, we've actually included an email template for you. Makes it a little easier to know what to type to the listing agent. If you just search for offer, it's called an offer email. You should have it. And so I'll just copy this one. It's just a template. And it kind of gives you some ideas of what to highlight in your offer. But it also makes it really easy for the listing agent to just look at this and get an idea of what exactly is in the offer they're about to open. So I'm just going to change the address, the offer amount, obviously, earnest money, an option, and anything else that you want to put in here that you think makes your offer stand out from others. Okay, and just pretend I filled all that out. This also says that we are including the lender, so I will go ahead and do that because it's always good to have the lender reach out to the listing agent as well and tell them how strong your client is for financing. And then I'm going to attach the documents to the email. And you can see again, the offer documents are separated from the seller's disclosure. And then I hit send, or I would hit send. Okay, thanks so much. Check out our other training videos.